Day two of the second test in Chennai, and on a pitch with more inconsistencies than the UK government's COVID response, Rishabh Pant, India's spinners, and some comical umpiring absolutely marmalised England. Only Ben Foakes, looking like a man born in Chandigarh rather than Colchester, offered any hope, and tomorrow could get very, very nasty indeed. I'm Owen Blackhurst, and you're listening to Murali Daily. This show is sponsored by Sam's Chicken and Lion Beer. Use the hashtag Uncle Johnson to get in touch and follow us on social media. Joining me today are the Times journalist Lizzie Ammon, ASMR's James Sarek, and Yeovil's Jordan Robins. Hello, everybody. Hope you're all well. And Lizzie, I'm going to start with you. Firstly, how was your prawn and chili linguine?
Oh, it was magic. Although I've just been told by our producer that I'm not allowed to eat prawns anymore because we overfish them. So I'm going to have to eat tofu prawns or something, aren't I? But it was nice.
Just ignore your producer and get them from a sustainable source. Okay, moving on from linguine. Should we be overly concerned with any of the batsmen's dismissals, or is it just a learning curve they will be better for in the long run?
I wouldn't be overly concerned with any of it. I mean, Rory Burns is a bit of a concern, although, he didn't do any worse than anyone other than Ben Foakes today. But looking ahead to the third test when they're going to have other options, he is under pressure. I think it was just a bit of a lottery on that pitch, really, wasn't it? And you're facing Ravi Ashwin. I mean, it's Ravi Ashwin. It's Ravi Ashwin on a turner. It's going to challenge the best. But it was a bit of a horror show, wasn't it?
It was. James, did you have something to jump in with there? I saw your hand up.
Oh, no, my hand wasn't.
Okay, well, I get
just disagreeing.
Oh, right, yeah. Well, I thought Axar Patel bowled very well, and the slightly round arm option offered something different. But you talk about Ben Foakes there. Now, I've been banging on about this for years, and it'd be interesting to get all of your opinions on this. He is the best wicketkeeper. You never really notice him. I mean, he missed that stump in today, but I think that is the curse of Murali because we were talking about how good he was. I think that both Jos Buttler and Jonny Bairstow are in the top 10 English batsmen, right? So why is Ben Foakes not England's wicketkeeper? And what does he have to do to stay there? Because it seems like the last time he got in, they were sort of looking for an excuse to drop him after a couple of bad performances. He's the only other England batsman apart from Joe Root in the team averaging over 40. So what does he have to do?
Well, it's a tricky one. I mean, he is the best gloveman, possibly in the world. He really is that good. And then it comes down to the age-old debate, doesn't it? Whether you pick your best gloveman or whether you pick your best batsman who can also don a pair of gloves. And I happen to think that Jos Buttler has actually kept pretty well in the three games that he's played, in pretty tricky conditions, standing up. And so he's not by any means a bad keeper. But it comes down to they want to have Jos Buttler in the side because he's a prolific talent. But at some point, you have to have the debate about whether Jos's numbers stack up and whether Ben's numbers would be better or are better. And these three matches are going to really, really test the selectors about what they do when it comes to the English summer. Ben Foakes is obviously very, very good in subcontinental conditions. His game, both with glove and bat, is set up for that. So things will be different, obviously, when it comes to the English summer and then into the Ashes. But it's a huge dilemma. I mean, I don't know. What would you do?
I would give him these three tests without saying he's under pressure for his place. And I would think if he does well, continues to score runs and continues to keep well, he gets the summer and potentially the Ashes. And then both Bairstow and Buttler need to prove they are in England's best six batsmen. And
the interesting element to this is that, of course, Ben Foakes will go from this series into county cricket. He will play a load of first-class cricket when Bairstow and Buttler are off in India earning the big bucks and not facing a red ball. And I do think at some point we have to sort of reward that, don't we? He's going to play first-class cricket. So he'll have had 2 months of first-class cricket ahead of the English international summer. And that has to be a factor.
Yeah, I hope that, well, they won't be listening, but I do hope he gets his chance properly this time. So from one brilliant wicketkeeper batsman to another, Rishabh Pant, it was an absolutely swashbuckling assault this morning. And as it's Valentine's Day, rather than moaning about the pitch or the umpires, we're all here because we bloody love cricket. So let's... some of Pant's shots were incredible. So I'm going to ask all of you, and I'll do mine first. You've got time to think. You can have 1, 2, or 3 shots that if you had to watch one shot forever, what would it be and who would the batsman play in it? So my 3 would be Robin Smith's cut, which I grew up watching. It would be Brian Lara's cover drive with a high backlift and down on one knee. And it would be Viv Richards pulling the ball into the stand wearing only a cap. Who wants to go first? 1, 2, or 3?
I'll let the others crack on. Well, I think.
So
Mark, producer Mark has just gone in the chat and said the dill scoop for him. You can have 1, 2, or 3. It's a cricketing Valentine's card to the nation, talking about beautiful cricket shots we all love.
Well, the Kevin Peterson helicopter shot. I mean, a lot of Kevin Peterson's shots. He was really quite magnificent, wasn't he? A James Vince cover drive for the 3 times he plays it before he nicks off. And I want to think about a leave. An Eddie Cowan. You remember the Australian?
Yeah.
An Eddie Cowan leave.
I like that. James, Jordan?
I've fallen in love with Roots sweeping this year, to be honest. That's been very enjoyable. Or just when Stuart Broad comes in thwacking it. Those are the 2
That's
I'd
a
go.
lot of fun, that is.
I'll take that.
Always fun to watch.
Jordan, as a man who's watched a bit of cricket at Taunton, any for you?
Hildreth, James Hildreth.
Yeah, definitely James Hildreth. But I also have to say, like, Sangakawa cover drive. That's always pretty good. And Ricky Ponting pull shot.
Ricky Ponting pull shot. I'm glad you said that, because there was something very Ponting-esque about that Rohit pull this morning, wasn't there? A front foot pull shot is a thing of absolute beauty.
Yes.
Oh, it is. And the way that he manages to control it by rolling his wrists and can place it either in front of square or behind square. Delightful.
So, James, in the WhatsApp chat before, you had an observation about Graham Thorpe and Chris Silverwood. Would you like to share?
Yeah, so they cut to Thorpe and Silverwood in the stands, sat next to each other, and I thought they looked like, because they weren't talking to each other, they looked like a couple of dads watching their sons, but they had nothing in common, as in they just sat there trying to make conversation, saying, "Oh, you read any good books recently?" "No, not really." "How's your son?" "Oh, he's doing well." That sort of vibe.
Yeah, they're now 3 seasons in, and they're actively trying to avoid each other at the clubhouse, but have no choice but to stand next to each other. Yeah,
basically.
So, back to Pant. Is he the heir apparent to Adam Gilchrist as the best, as the most destructive wicketkeeper batsman around?
Well, if Josh Buttler could, do his thing, then perhaps not. But yeah, I mean, he is ludicrous, isn't he? He just does not care what the match situation is, and why should he when you can play like that? But it doesn't matter what the match situation is or what the pitch is like, or he's decided that that's aggression is what's going to stand him out, and he times the nuts off it.
Back to the spinners. I mean, India's spinners have obviously grown up playing in these conditions. Ashwin is an all-timer, let's be honest. Axar Patel came and did well, and Kuldeep Yadav hasn't played a lot of cricket, but he started to get better. And obviously, Lizzie, you've got a rich history of blocking morons on social media for their views. So there was a lot of chat today of, why can't Moeen and Jack Leach bowl like India's spinners? I mean, it's missing the point completely.
Oh, yeah, just like that. Yeah, just go out and do it. It's that easy. Go and do it. Yeah. I mean, there's so many factors, isn't there? For a start, those two in particular have had so little first-class cricket in the last 18 months. I mean, Jack Leach nearly died a year ago. So, let's the fact that he's even there and taking wickets is just incredible. And Moeen is such a confidence bowler, and his confidence got so knocked in the 2019 Ashes. I mean, that was pretty grim, wasn't it? Yeah. And I think he kind of lost the love. And he's just getting it back. And you only get that back through lots of overs and a bit of success and support from the team. So, let's give him a bit of leeway. We don't have an Ashwin. We don't have a Jadeja. We don't have them. And much of that is to do with county cricket and the way that the system's set up, and although things are getting a bit better, I think. But I mean, God, can you imagine the carnage if Jadeja was playing?
I can't, and I'm glad he isn't.
Is there an argument as well that there's India in India, and those pitches are
Yes.
going to favour Indian bowlers, going to favour people like Ashwin, and when he's fit, Jadeja, and has been doing something for Axar a little bit today as well. I mean, it's going to favour them a lot more than Leach and perhaps less so Moeen, who are not playing on the subcontinent. Especially Moeen's been out of the game for what, 18 months roughly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Should we just talk about the pitch? Because there's a raging debate going on social media about whether it's a terrible pitch and it should be, sanctioned by the ICC, or whether it's home advantage and you're allowed to do that. We prepare green seamers with some cloud cover, don't we? And skittle people out at Trent Bridge for next to Soddle. They are allowed to play the home advantage card, and they know that they have got the better spinners, and their players play better against spin. So I can't say I blame them for doing it. Having said that, it's not a great pitch for Test cricket, is it?
I think if it had become this pitch that it has been on day 1 and 2, on days 3 and 4, you could really have no arguments and it'd be a great Test pitch. The fact that it went like that on day 1, I mean, we've seen how many wickets today? 15 or 16 on day 2.
It's going through the surface, isn't it? It's not even just the footholds. It's, it's exploding out of the surface. And actually that was happening yesterday. Yeah, right. And today there's not much surface left. I mean, it's just a beach, isn't it?
Yeah, I feel like if this pitch was prepared by like Somerset, they probably get like some points deducted.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah,
they might still get points deducted. Just
I did see someone tweet that the ECB are going to be flying to Chennai and then they'll find Somerset 20 points. But yeah, the thing with Moeen, you talk about his confidence there, and I'm a paid up member of the fan club. We could also look at his numbers a little bit as well, because his batting average and bowling average have separated a bit. But I think that's down to him never having a consistent role. But he gets some awful flack on social media, and it's easy to say players just stay off it, don't go and look at it. But you would, you're just human, and you would, and I think. People, in a time when we all need to be a little bit kind and everyone's suffering, there's some absolute arseholes on cricket Twitter who cannot wait to go out bashing people. And how can people build confidence and how can they thrive when, even if they just have a little peek anywhere, they've got people with, cricket balls and motorbikes or whatever as their avatar laying into them. I don't understand why it isn't about support. Criticize someone for not playing well, or do it with your mates, but to take to social media to then be trying to at those people in the tweets, like Moeen Ali's going to respond when you've just told him he can't bowl a hoop down a fucking hill.
Well, very sensibly, Moeen Ali deleted all social media a couple of years ago. I think he said that he just came off it all because it was it was too much, but also it meant he said that it was distracting him from spending time with his kids, which is it's not a great space to be in, is it, when you're on social media rather than spending time with your kids. So helpfully he's done that, and I think that's good for him. But it does get to Moeen, and he has in the past said it feels like to him that when England lose, it's always his fault, and it's clearly not. He's got 180 Test wickets. The bloke's not just strolled in off the, pub 11, has he?
No, he took that. Sorry, he took that break for his mental health, partly, wasn't it? That was sort of the main reason why. And I remember seeing quite soon after him coming back, I think he was playing in a T20 and he was whacking it about, and that's the kind of confidence you need to get back. And then to have people keep saying, "Oh, what's he doing here?" It's a good thing he doesn't have social media, because it's just going to keep knocking you, and he needs a run in the team to be able to get that confidence back. It's a cycle. It's not one-off Test match, you're out of the team. It's sort of getting.
And he's just had COVID. He was really quite ill. Oh, yeah. I mean, I just think we need to just understand the bigger picture of where England have got a lot of resources. I think we've seen that there's real depth, isn't there? I mean, you can bring in Moeen when Best was dropped. I mean, Ollie Stone has performed brilliantly, I think. Broad had a really off day, didn't he?
Yeah, well, we mentioned it yesterday. Rohit just went after him. He went after him and Stokes from the go. But there are some concerns elsewhere in the England team. If you look, the only Root is averaging over 40, averaging over 50, and Folkes, but he's only sort of in at the moment. So Johnny Bairstow flies back in, I believe, before the third test, and Zach Crawley will be fit. Do they both go straight back in? And if so, who for?
So it's an issue because I think Zach Crawley proved last summer that he's got the game and the resilience. And I think it was really unfortunate that he was injured, because I think he will, of the top three, Burns, Sibley, Crawley, I think Crawley will end up being the one who plays the most Test cricket. So I think you possibly could bring him in for Burns with Sibley and Bairstow straight back in at 3. And that does give you a bit more. Dan Lawrence, I feel for Dan Lawrence, because he's playing out of position, isn't he? Three is not his position. He's learning in the toughest environment. This is really, really hard. And actually what you need is, other than you do need Stokes to step up. I think, because, he's not bowling much, so therefore his role really is to do something with the bat. But it does look a bit fragile, doesn't it?
Worryingly fragile. I think the top of the order for me is a real concern. I love the idea of both Rory Burns and Dom Sibley. I've said it before, but numbers will tell. And you don't want to go into a home series against India. It's going to be dominated by the ball, but you certainly don't want to go to Australia, even though they'll be undercooked with problems at the top of the order, because they will feast on that. Absolutely feast on it. So I think the same. Crawley in, probably Burns. I think Sibley's done a little bit more. And Bairstow has to come in. Johnny Bairstow is one of England's top 3 players of spin, knows the conditions well, loves batting, will love the challenge of being in at 3. So I think it's timed perfectly for Bairstow to come back in and hopefully make an impact.
I think having Crawley in is important, just for having the experience of playing in India, just to see how he, even if he does only get single figures, just to give him that experience, maybe that will actually give him resilience in the future. As you say, he's actually a resilient batsman. It might actually benefit him to see what it's like to get out for cheap, just to see how he doesn't get out for cheap in the future. Like play against people like Ashwin and don't know, Jed's out, isn't he? But Kuldeep, these spinners who will manage to get the ball to do something.
Everything I know about Zach Crawley, and we all know that, is he works bloody hard at his game, and
he's a really quick learner as well. So
he'll have looked at those dismissals, won't he, Lizzie? How he got out in Sri Lanka, playing with hard hands, and I would imagine he's getting a lot of throwdowns off Trotty and working with Jita Patel to look at how to combat that.
He's too tall for Tommy, though, isn't he?
He is too tall for Tommy, but Jordan, I believe, was up very late last night doing the virtual test again.
Oh boy!
So
the
Jordan,
real test match.
The real test match. Jordan, can we have a report, please?
Sure. Okay. I'm gonna have to get up. Give me one moment.
It's all right.
If it's anything other than England got hammered, there's a glitch in your computer.
Wasn't there a art mirroring reality? Gill getting out very early on.
Rohit was teeing off, wasn't he? Anyway, over to you, Jordan.
Robot Sharma.
Yeah, Rohit Sharma was teeing off. He did actually get, I think he got 115 in the first innings.
Any other standouts?
What are the bowling figures like?
So, hang on.
Stokes did well, didn't he, as well, if I remember rightly?
Yeah, Stokes got 165 in the first innings, and then 75 in the second. He really.
That's really what England could do with.
Yes,
a lot. Yeah. Does this simulation have an option for a pitch that has been picked up from the surface of Mars and dropped in Chennai?
No, I think it's actually random, but yeah, you can basically like see what kind of pitch you've got, and it's basically average. So yeah, it did look like it was turning square from day one. So I guess it was like a little bit reminiscent of the Chennai pitch, but yeah, towards the end got a bit tense. So in the end, England won by 3 wickets.
Well,
with 14 minutes to spare.
On day
14
five.
minutes.
On day
On,
5.
on day 5.
Sounds like a cracker of a match.
It does. So just before we wrap up and let everyone enjoy their Sunday afternoons, how do England turn the next bit of this test into a positive? Is it to try and use it as live practice, batting in very difficult conditions, and go, okay, we're going to have to see this again in our careers, certainly some of the younger batsmen. Do they just go out and say, right, we're going to combat this for as long as possible and show India that they're up for it? Or is it get out of town quickly and prepare for the next one?
No, I think it's the former. I think that there's a real opportunity here for them to work on the technique, the kind of looking at how Rohit played, and indeed how Root played in the last one, about getting all the way forward or all the way back. And with the pressure slightly off, in that you're not expected to, there's a ball with your name on, isn't there? But in the meantime, use it as this kind of learning experience. And with the ball, actually, I think it's quite important tomorrow, when India are naturally going to be teeing off. They've got plenty of runs on the board. They can play their shots. Whether England can find a way of restricting the scoring and controlling things and building a bit of pressure that way. Or alternatively, you just let them go mental for a session and then get them to declare.
Yeah, that's what I was hoping they'd go ballistic today, actually. But anyway, anyone else?
Yeah, well, it's a fairly foregone conclusion England won't win. I think that's not going to happen. And yeah, like Lizzie says, it's a good chance to sort of work on things for the next test, or indeed for I guess the rest of the year in some respects, in terms of how do we combat Rohit, how do you play against Ashwin's spin, especially. I know Root's wicket today, that was potentially avoidable, I suppose. Whether even in the second innings, can he avoid that? Can he dig in a little bit and provide the same sort of form he's been putting through the rest of the year? It's stuff like that you'd want to focus on. And obviously it's great to see England win, but also it's just as satisfying in a way when you see England sort of losing, not valiantly, but losing and learning, I think is the best way to put it. And whether they do or not is really a bit of the jury's out for me on that one, whether that actually happens.
Absolutely. Well, we said last week that for the neutrals, 1-1 going into a day-night test with a pink ball that might hoop round corners in the third test might be a good result, and that looks what we're going to get. So thank you, everybody, for joining us today. Look after yourselves. Please, this was the Murali Daily, and please subscribe, comment, share it with your mates, or we will send the Indian umpires round for dinner. Thank you.